Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
What's up, Doom Nation, and welcome back. You were listening to the Two Doom Men podcast. As always, it's Skaggs and yours truly, the Captain. And we have a special show. We've been talking about the conspiracy episode. So, Skaggs, why don't you introduce our very special guest for today's festivities?
You might have seen
I pour
him.
myself a drink.
There you go. Go for it, buddy. You're having a rough time over there with your shitty microphone, so
yes,
you could drink your
Get your shit together.
technical sorrows away. But we are joined today by Mr. James Curry from We the People Radio. You might remember him last time he was here in person in the shack in the back with us.
Yes, sir.
Good time, dude. That was a really good time.
That was fucking awesome.
Can't wait to do it again.
We have to do it again because my favorite part was everybody caught like the party bug. Like we were drinking, we had a few drinks, we sat down, we recorded, had some smoke, a couple of more drinks. Then afterwards, we were barbecuing, having a good time, and then everybody left and immediately went out to the bar in their own like little hometown.
Garrett dropped me off at home like a piece of shit and didn't tell me he was going out to the bar. Because if he did, I would have went with him. And his excuse was, I lived too far from his house and didn't want to have to drive home again. So
right,
you shit left me alone, and I went home like a loser. But it was a great time hanging out with you boys, and I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me on the Two Men. What up, Doom Nation? It's gonna be a good time. We're gonna get a little weird.
My favorite saying of James: we are going to gang bang the government. Let's go.
No question.
That's got to be a shirt, bro. It's got to be a shirt or a hat.
Gang bang on the government. Absolutely. Fuck. It literally and metaphorically. We are going to gang bang on the government.
Yeah,
we're going to
no better time to do it. And Garrett was supposed to be here today also, the samurai. He could get fucked. He couldn't make it. So maybe he'll pop in. I don't know. He's got the link.
I used to do a Wednesday morning show with him, but he's too busy with kids and family life. Can't even make it happen, this guy.
I was doing Thursdays with him as well, and they kind of fell apart. But right. Nonetheless, we love Garrett. He can go get himself fucked. Yeah. But, so where do we want to start? I mean, there's so much going on. We're going to talk conspiracies, and I really kind of want to just talk conspiracies and theories and where we think things are going. Not really too interested in this episode and trying to debunk anything. I know, Skaggs, that's, you got your debunking rifle ready to go, but
Skaggs, this is different from Antarctica, though, because James usually deals more in like history and like the real world, where Garrett's more like magic and laser beams and shit like that. So,
well, okay, so let's start there. James, what are your thoughts on this whole direct energy weapon and the whole mystery behind Maui? I don't know how the fire started, but the whole Blue House thing, the 1,000 people missing, no media coverage. We're not looking for the 1,000 people anymore. Very fishy shit.
So I will tell you that there is a fuck ton of questions. Now, to sit here and say and speak in absolutes that it was a direct energy weapon is silly. But what we can do is we can actually do a little bit of research and see videos of Donald Rumsfeld in the 90s talking about how we had direct energy weapons. We had the Secretary of Defense talking about direct energy weapons in 2017 in the Trump administration. And there's also videos from Lockheed Martin using direct energy weapons.
Airborne laser on the tip of the planes.
Yeah, to sit here and say that kind of technology is conspiracy, that's silly. You're just ignorant. You don't do any research. You just hear some crazy word, direct energy weapon or lasers. You're like, oh, that's fucking nuts. Like, that can't be real. But it is in fact real. Now, to say that Hawaii is 100% direct energy weapon, that's also silly. You can speculate. You can point at things and say, hey, you know what? All these blue things, all these celebrities are painting their roofs blue, the umbrellas, like the trees. There's literally sections where surrounding trees is all burned, and then there's just like trees that didn't catch on fire at all. There's a lot of really weird anomalies when it comes to the actual burn pattern of Maui. But again, you can't prove it one way or the other. The other thing that's very weird with Maui is the fact that they have the largest siren system, emergency alert system in the world. And they decided not to use it. And the guy who was in charge of setting it off, his excuse is, oh, it's for tsunamis only, which is not the case.
That's not true. That's actually right. Yeah. It's written down that it could be used for earthquakes, tsunamis, anything,
and
hurricanes,
emergency
wildfires. Yeah. It does say wildfires on there as well. Yeah.
He said that it was only for tsunamis, which is ridiculous, and he has since resigned because of his lack thereof of execution, which he in my opinion should be criminally prosecuted because of the people that lost their lives, because he could have literally just hit a button and people who didn't know there was a fire going on until the smoke was billowing into their house, they're like, what the heck is going on? They try to get out. It's too late.
Right.
That's weird anomaly. That doesn't make sense. The fact that there's multiple reports, not just from citizens, but from firefighters talking about how the water was shut off. They weren't allowed access to the water. That's very, very weird. But the one thing that really, really is odd to me is the police officers blocking people, not just from getting in, but from getting out. And there's multiple reports. And there was a lawyer who spoke in one of those public hearings that they're having. And he's like, listen, like, I'm a lawyer, and my brother, he's like, he had to take people to the top of this mountain, like cut open this gate that's locked, just to get people out, because the police were not letting people out, and the people who had to jump in the water just to escape the fires. Like, those kinds of reports lead me to believe that there's some nefarious behavior,
fuckery afoot,
a lot of fuckery. Like my friend Bubbles likes to say, there's some fuckery afoot.
Can I give you guys my take? Because I agree with you 100% that there's fuckery afoot.
Please.
I know a lot of good people have covered like that. There's like, there's like 2,000 people missing or something, somewhere around there, and a majority of which are children.
Just not going to look for.
They were off of schools just coincidentally that day.
Right. My guess, again, as to what's going on here, is that there is fuckery afoot, right? There was such criminal negligence here, like you were just saying, with the water. I posted the video. Jeremy Kaufman from the LPNH, he found the video of this guy who's in charge of the water there, and he's a woke ideologue, right? He was talking about how water rights are equity, and
I saw that video.
Yeah. So, and he was the guy who was in charge of the water for the most part for that area. And obviously we're just talking about the sirens, and they didn't activate them. They didn't warn everybody. These people are criminally fucking like liable for what happened. And you're telling me there's 2,000 people missing? Well, it's been what, a month? They're dead, right? They've been vaporized and incinerated in the fire. Those what I'm saying is those people are dead. They're gone. And these people who are in charge and were responsible, or at least liable, have blood on their hands. They don't want to get in trouble for that. They're fucking shitting their pants, right? It's the government that's in charge of this whole thing. So they're trying to, like, my opinion is that they're trying to like run out the clock, wait for like public attention to go away.
It already is with the Burning Man situation.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? This way they can maybe get off with like being charged for something criminally for not doing their job in an emergency. That's my guess as to why there's this fuckery afoot afterwards.
That is a fair assessment to make, but at the same time, it would be much different if this wasn't a place in Lahaina, Hawaii, which is highly coveted,
valuable
land by not just the people who live on it and have owned it for generation to generation. And this is what I think the reason why the kids were left at home to burn, because they inherit the land, and now there's no inheritors for the land. And even if they do somehow remain the owners of said land, there's no one to pass it on to, which then they would have to then sell it. And we know how that goes. BlackRock, Vanguard, these companies come swoop it up, no matter 10% over asking price, no problem. They have no problem paying extra for this land. So we know for a fact that these big corporations, these big conglomerates that we've been talking about for a while, that have been up to some fuckery for a while, have been asking to buy this land for a long time, way longer than we even realize. This goes back decades, if you ask me, because this land is beachfront property. It's very prime location. and they can make billions of dollars with tourism if that was now available for them to buy.
I want to jump in real quick. Ironically, they're saying the island is closed right now when it's not, and that island relies on tourism. This is basically the only way people make money there.
They don't want anybody doing research.
Yeah, was that Cap?
Nobody. They don't want anybody doing research.
Yeah, right. So I do think, because I've seen Craig Pasta Chardulo. He went there and he was like, it's not closed. It's open. They keep saying it's closed, but it's
Nick
not.
Sorter went there too. Nick Sorter,
yes,
who did
yeah, he was there too.
Palestine, Ohio, which again nobody talks about. Everybody forgot about. But he went there, and they're literally not allowed. They're barricading the entire fire. They're covering it up with black tar, which makes no sense. Why would
they're hurting the other by doing this?
That's where they hurt their narrative.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. They're also hurting the other side of the island, which didn't get affected by the fire, where there's like other towns on the opposite side, which are completely fine. Those people are all fucked now. Their businesses aren't making any money because no one's going there, because people think it's closed and it's not. And this is all under like direction of the governor and local officials.
Well,
FEMA,
the governor,
that it's closed when it's not.
I think his name is James Green or something.
Yeah, something like that.
He came out with so he was recently in New York City at a World Economic Forum meeting.
Josh Green. Yeah.
Josh Green, thank you. I was right on the last name. Good thing he doesn't share first name with me, the piece of shit. But he was in a World Economic Forum meeting that was held in New York City not that long ago. And he was literally talking to the World Economic Forum, which at this point, you want to get weird and talk about conspiracies. I don't even think the World Economic Forum is a conspiracy anymore. Like I really don't.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know anybody who would argue against it. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like it's well known that they are up to no good.
Yeah.
They're not doing right by humanity. And he's talking in front of the World Economic Forum about Hawaii is going to be the first place to have these 15-minute smart cities. These 15-minute smart cities in Hawaii. And what better place to sell this to the American public than beachfront property, this huge community that's 15-minute city right in front of the beach. Hey, come live here, guys, right in Hawaii.
Live on an island where you can't get off of it.
Yeah, we'll take care of everything. Don't worry about it. You got the beach. You got this. You got that. And you don't have to drive your car. We'll take your cars. You don't have to worry about food because all the food is going to be manufactured and lab grown in this little fucking community. You don't have to worry about anything. It's a perfect place to sell that dream to people, in the convenience to people right in Hawaii. And it's not a coincidence that he is the one in front of the World Economic Forum talking about how Hawaii is going to be the first place. It's not
funny. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's funny that the people who would buy into moving into a smart city on Hawaii are all the same people who believe in climate change. Mm-hmm. Therefore, Hawaii is going to be underwater in what, a year, a day? I think right now it might be coming underwater.
In 2018, everything would be underwater. Yeah. They said it in the 70s that by the 2000s, everything would be underwater, and we can go on and on and on.
It's amazing that they're going to build the cities of the future on property that is going to be taken back by the ocean.
Well, they are saying that climate change, they did, right? Say climate change caused the fire. So, is climate change now going to not cause more fires there because it had a fire? And it's like, oh, yeah, I had a fire here. I'm not going to have another fire here again or something. That doesn't make sense either.
But these elites know that we're like the majority of humanity are stupid. They call us sheep for a reason. They hurt us for a reason. They push these ridiculous narratives that anybody with a pulse can look at and be like, what? Like, this is retarded. But they realize that the majority of people are just going to do as they're told or do what everybody else is doing. That's just, they know human psychology better than anybody. So how many times have they done things and then a couple years later completely contradict what they did previously?
Right.
And don't even acknowledge what they did previously.
They don't wait years anymore, bro. They do it in like days now. Can I make a quick point of something I saw this morning? I saw Vivek Ramaswamy. He was on Mehdi Hassan's show on MSNBC.
Is that what you sent last night?
No, I don't think so. But he was on last night, I think, and he was getting no. That was I know what you're talking about. That was a different interview by Anomaly. But anyway, Mehdi Hassan was like grilling Vivek about his ties, his scholarship with George Soros and whatever. And I was like, isn't it fucking funny how Mehdi Hassan is now like framing it in that right-wing negative association with George Soros Whereas before Mehdi Hassan would, like, anyone who questioned George Soros, he'd be like, "You're anti-Semitic. You don't like Jewish people or whatever." But now why? Because he's questioning Vivek Ramaswamy. It's now, like, they'll turn on the drop of
an
a
authentic
dime.
Republican.
Yeah, like they'll use anything they can at any moment. They don't give a fuck about what they said yesterday, as long as it's in the moment and it works for them to make someone who's somewhat oppositional to the machine. They'll use it. They don't give a fuck.
That's exactly why I think that would be their motive, and this is why, with your statement, Skaggs, in normal circumstances, like if this wasn't like what's going on in Hawaii, and there wasn't this land grab, there wasn't all this money and opportunity, and they really need something big for them, because these people have held this land for generations, like before, like some of
the
these
natives,
people,
yeah.
Didn't the capital of Hawaii used to be on that island, and because the people wouldn't give it up?
It used to be Lehana specifically. It used to be Lehana,
Right.
used to be the capital before it became a state, and that's exactly the point. Lehana has been
That's the kingdom of Hawaii, right?
This land has been owned by these families since before it became a state. Before Hawaii was forced to, because a lot of them didn't want to become a state. A lot of them wanted to stay independent.
Yeah, in 1802, King Kamehameha made Lahaina the capital of the Hawaiian Kingdom. Yeah.
So it's a very prime location, and I'm sure there's tons and tons of resources there as well, that they're sitting on that land. But I truly think because of that, like, you had Josh Green go out on tape, on TV, like, hey, yeah, we're gonna do whatever we can to make sure that the state acquires this land. Like, right. They needed something so big and catastrophic to get these people off this land, to make sure that they can't buy it, they can't own it. They have loopholes in the law that allow the state to acquire it. Insurance companies and real estate agents are already making phone calls to acquire this land. Insurance companies are denying claims already. Even Alan's does this for a living, and he's like, fire, it'll eventually get overturned and they'll eventually get their money. But the issue is, a lot of these people don't have much. So, like, you're sitting here and you're telling me I can't get this insurance claim, and I got to fight tooth and nail through court. Now I got to come out of pocket for lawyer fees. I got to do all of this extra shit, and I don't have anything to begin with. And you're going to drag this out as long as humanly possible to completely just destroy me, financially and spiritually, to keep the fight going. It's going to be very tough for these people to hang on to this land. And even if they want to, with every fiber in their body, like, just financial, like everything that comes along with it, and any other way, they're not giving it up. There's no chance you could offer them $1 billion. Like, hey, here's $1 billion, we'll buy the land. They're not selling. They're like those people. I love those people where you see these big communities get built, or these big buildings get built, apartment,
and their house is like in the middle of it.
Yeah, and their house is just like cornered by walls. They have like things surrounding them.
Fucking bastards who won't give up their property. I love that shit too. Yeah.
I love it, dude. Like, AC got hit with it hard. AC Atlantic City got hit with it hard. There's a lot of casinos and things like that, like houses that are just like,
man.
Yeah. I remember when we used to be at the Revel.
Yeah,
right across the street,
the boardwalk. Yeah,
it's
rough down there too. But there's like houses right next door to the casino.
And there's
shit makes no sense. Like, would I want to live there? No, it's not even a good neighborhood. It's really fucking rough on those two roads.
And it's a beat up old house. Like, it's not like a nice house. Like, and they're like, nah, fuck you, I'm staying. And I love it. But that's what these Hawaiian people are like. They're like that. They have that kind of mentality, and it's not just one random person who won't sell to the corporation. It's the entire community. Like, they know each other. Like, their grandparents grew up together. Their great grandparents grew up together. Like, that's how close knit a lot of this community is, and it's heartbreaking to see. But to get back to your point, Chris, I think it would be that would be the case in any other place in the country, but because of what taking a 40,000 foot view at the whole entire situation and what surrounds everything that goes on at Lehana, I think there's some deliberacy to it. Whether it's like the California fires. I don't know if a lot of you remember the Antifa guys getting caught with gas cans and getting caught lighting fires on fire. Whether it was them starting a fire or it was actual direct energy weapons.
Right.
And there are things to point to, the preciseness of the fires, the fact that no celebrity or no rich person lost their house or lost any other, like Oprah has like 8 acres or 80 acres or something like that on Lehana, and nothing got touched. Like it's just very odd to me. And then you see the umbrellas, you see the ways that the cars melted, and you see all of these things. It seems like it burned a little hotter than fire in some places. And
how a car could melt, but the tree could stand.
Exactly.
So, yeah. But the whole thing, I think the question for us that we're getting to, right, or that me and you, Chris, have discussed a lot lately, was essentially we all agree that they're doing nefarious shit without a doubt. Like afterwards, to try and like grab up this land grab, use it for all these nefarious purposes and all that shit. We all 100% agree. I also do not put it past the government to just fucking murder a couple thousand people. They've done it before. They'll kill you. They don't give a fuck. They've murdered hundreds of thousands of people in World War II, in Hiroshima, Nagasaki, Dresden. So again, I'm an anarchist, right? I don't rule that out. I know what the government is capable of. But I think the question is, like, did they set the torch or not to this?
I think they did.
To this town.
Yeah, there's no.
Or are they just trying to, like, capitalize on a tragedy and scoop it up after, because like a thing happens, here comes the government now to try and profit off of it or clamp down on freedoms and restrict things and blah blah blah. You know what they normally do.
So that's definitely a possibility. It's not out of out of the realm of possibility for sure. But based on all of the fuckery, based on the pretext of what they gain by this happening, leads me to believe that they did something to cause this fire. It's a win-win for them as well. It's not just they get the land, now they can push this climate change nonsense. They can really use this narrative to their advantage. It's backfiring because people are seeing through it. The fact that they're saying this is climate change, like people are like, wait a second, like,
what? Yeah,
this doesn't make sense. Like, you guys are fucking. This doesn't make sense. A hurricane causing fire. What? And then the fact that this hurricane, these winds that were 200 miles off the island, didn't affect any of the other islands that hit it, is very weird as well. So we know they have this technology. We know they're capable of using technology and using these things against us civilians. They've done it before. We can get really weird and talk about 9/11, whether it was an actual plane that went into the building or it was a missile and they used CGI. Like, there's so many questions there. Like, just the Pentagon footage alone, just that one shot that they got.
Yeah,
that's
like the
there's
frame
no way you're
by
telling
frame
me
shot.
there's no way you're telling me that's an airplane. There's no way you can tell me looking at that with my eyeballs and say, hey, yeah, that looks like an airplane to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's all this fuckery afoot and all these stories and all these major disasters that have happened. We also know that they have the capabilities to manipulate weather. Like, they have these capabilities. They've been using it in war. Like, they've documented this. There's this is no longer a conspiracy. They had on one of those shows on British television, the guy who does Top Gear, you know who I'm talking about? He did a whole episode about a cloud.
Jeremy Clarkson.
Yeah, yes. He did a whole episode about a cloud making machine that makes artificial rain. Yeah. And how they literally had this giant machine that was so loud he couldn't even hear himself speaking, and he was like 1,000 yards away from the machine, and it's making this giant cloud, and he's like, half hour later it's pouring rain because of the cloud that they made. And so they have these kinds of technology, and why would they need it? Makes no sense. Like, God created the land and the world and weather how it was supposed to be. Why is man trying to fuck with it? Like, why are we trying to improve?
Man wants to be God.
Exactly. 1,000%.
Yeah, I do think that's like in our nature inherently. Like, if there's one thing like humans do, it's like we make stuff. We make new stuff always. Like, our species is obsessed with making new technology, like throughout history. So yeah, I mean, there's going to be good and bad people, of course. And what are they going to use that technology for?
And in most cases, and we'll get into the inner workings of government, because I know you guys want to talk a little Q. But in most cases, a lot of the government, a lot of the bureaucrats, a lot of these lifelong politicians, they're either corrupted, they're evil themselves, or blackmailed, and in many cases. So and they have the control of this power, and we can look throughout history of some of these inventions that were created for good in some cases, or some for with evil intent. Like, for example, Nikola Tesla's death ray. If you go to my link tree, I have the FBI vault of all of Tesla's documents, and the first link you click is an interview he did with the New York Times, and he was in talks with the government to set up these he didn't call it the death ray, but he's like, I have this laser that I created that's 2 centimeters in diameter, and it can shoot up to it can melt airplane engines 200 miles off the coast. And he's doing a New York Times interview in 1948. You can literally go to my link tree and find the article right there. They've since removed it from their archives, but you could see it right there. And this is an FBI vault document, straight from the FBI. So they had this technology in the 1940s, and he said he's going to destroy the technology because he knew they were going to use it for evil intent. Like, he didn't want the death ray to get out there because he knew what their intentions were. Whereas guys who invent water powered cars or
always die,
or frequency healing.
I think a movie just came out about this too, right? Oppenheimer. I don't know if you guys saw it. Did you guys see Oppenheimer?
I did not see it yet, but this I get the premise of
this happens when someone invents a thing like the atomic bomb or the laser. Like, Oppenheimer went through his should I have did this or not? And now where do I go from here afterwards? Yeah.
Absolutely, and usually it's not the creator's intention for evil. It's usually the powers that be, the government, and that's what we're seeing in a lot of cases. Like, maybe there is some good to bringing some rain to some really drought heavy areas. Maybe there is some good to that. Maybe you can use that technology for some good. Sure, maybe I can see that. You can make that argument, but when this is in the hands of people who we have not only caught lying, caught attempting, but caught executing evil atrocities to its own people, not just here in the United States, but all over the world, I don't hold anything past them to use the technology at their disposal that we know exists, that we know is real. It's not conspiracy against us in some capacity to gain control, to gain power, whatever it may be. And Lihana happens to be that spot where it's like, if they did it like in the middle of nowhere, Hawaii, like where nobody's fucking at, like,
and it's no important, property
important, or like they like even if they did this like in the middle of Florida, like Florida has some really good prime real estate. Like Miami is selling like hotcakes. Fort Lauderdale selling hotcakes. Like, it'd be tough to pull it off there. But even still, it's already corporate owned at this point. Like,
they have done shit like this before, though, too. Like in Hurricane Maria, I'm sure, Kat, we're friends with a lot of Puerto Rican people, and they said, after that, like, that really fucked up Puerto Rico, and like that, all the big corporations swooped in after trying to gobble up like that, those houses, that property, right, that was owned by just normal families down there in PR, and it was like a gentrification sort of deal. So.
It's not just that they withheld resources there. Remember, they found the fields of pallets
of water that was
we can't get waters to you, but there's like a fucking whole 3 football fields full of it over here.
It's the cover up's worse than the crime sometimes, man, and that's what we're just seeing, cover up after cover up after cover up.
So with all of those cover ups, with all of those things that we've seen before, looking at the situation that we have right in front of us, if there wasn't all of this previous stuff, it'd be easier to come to your conclusion, Chris, where it's like they're taking advantage of a disaster.
That's probably my conclution, but more than Chris. Chris is probably more.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that, but the conclusion that you presented earlier, then they're actually deliberately trying to make this happen. And using technology like direct energy weapons to make it happen. Whether it was a true hurricane, they're like, all right, here's our window kind of thing,
or whether they made the hurricane themselves.
Yeah, or whether it doesn't.
You know, I find it funny with the whole. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I find it so funny with the weather making machine and all that, because on TikTok, you know, I come across a lot of conspiracy shit, but I don't pay any mind to it. It's always, I'm a time traveler and this is what's going to happen. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. Well, one thing they kept talking about was this big hurricane that's going to come to and hit Florida between like the 6th and like the 10th of September. And right now, I'm pretty sure there's a hurricane gearing up to hit it.
Dude, yeah.
But I'm talking about, I heard this stuff in July.
So okay, but that's hurricane season though. In talking about Florida,
yes. But to nail the date.
I mean, I could also have made that prediction, right? And it's a good chance I'd have been correct.
Pretty high, but no. But it's to add to that point. I don't know if you guys saw this, and this is very real. State Farm is pulling all of their homeowner insurance policies out of the entire state of California. The entire state, they're pulling their homeowners insurance out. Makes no sense to me. Why would they do that? There's it's a huge population. Tons of people live in California. Do they foresee a disaster coming that they don't want to have to cover? Like, what's going on? Like,
what do they know?
That is a very weird thing. Like, insurance companies are not known for taking money from people. Like, not like turning away money. Like, hey, we want to use you as our homeowners insurance. We'll pay you X amount of dollars.
How weird is that one insurance company just won't insure anyone from a specific state?
I really wonder what's behind that, right? Like, is it they know something's coming? Does it have something to do with just the insane state of California, crime, vandalism, homeless fucking people living everywhere? I'm also wondering, man, like you guys have heard, I'm sure, people have made the valid point that, like, hey, if climate change is real, why are insurance companies still insuring?
You wouldn't be able to get a loan in London or Miami
on Miami
like
Beach,
that.
right? Yeah. I wonder if that has anything to do with it, that they've been so convinced that climate change is real that they have to like uphold the narrative now and pull out some.
It wouldn't just be California. It would be Florida. It would be all coastal states. Coastal states they'd be pulling out of. New York would definitely be gone. They wouldn't be insuring New York City because that's an entire island. Miami, like, they'd be out. If that was the case. Florida, California, like, I think you hit something there with the crime. Like, 50 Cent said recently that, you know, California is going to completely be fucked because businesses are not going to operate unless you come by appointment. Everything's going to be gated. Everything's going to be completely shut down. Like, it's going to be a really crazy surveillance type state.
Well, before Christmas, I plan on going to California and just stealing a bunch of shit because they can't even chase me down, and that'll be all my Christmas shopping.
All right,
it's going to be against. That's actually a fucking great. You know, go to Walmart with these big corporations. Who don't fuck about us and just steal your Christmas.
Just 100% of Christmas gifts are stolen from California. I ain't going back.
Don't go to the mom and pops. Whatever you do, go and whatever buy your Christmas if you're gonna buy your presents, buy them from the mom and pops. Give them your business.
Yeah, I agree with
if
that.
You're gonna go and steal them. Go to like
Target.
Go to Target and steal what you got to steal and be out. Less than $900, and they won't
give you. They'll give you the key to the city afterwards in San Francisco or something like that.
Really, I'm gonna come home with 15 flat screen TVs.
Yeah, real quick, I want to inject the state approved or the mainstream narrative approved for State Farm. At least I'm getting this from the AP. It says that State Farm announced last week it would stop accepting applications for all business and personal lines of property and casualty insurance in California, citing inflation, a challenging reinsurance market, and rapidly growing catastrophe exposure. The decision did not impact personal auto insurance. So that's I guess State Farm's official
strange they would bring in inflation, since the Inflation Reduction Act is clearly working, guys.
Clearly working. That's the catastrophic line, I think, is the real
rapidly growing catastrophe exposure.
Yeah, I think the catastrophe exposure has something to do with it, but I also think, like, because it's not just business. I think a lot of it has to do with business as well, because of the businesses being looted nonstop. Like, it's
you are seeing like was it
all those Walgreens are going
Walgreens closing,
Louis Vuitton, everything is getting hit. Everything is getting hit, and it's not an accident when you tell people, like, hey, listen, we can't even call the cops
Right.
If you steal anything, like we're not even allowed to call the police.
Yeah.
If you steal anything less than $1,000, what do you think is going to happen? And then you have bail reform where all the criminals get arrested or out by dinner time.
Yeah.
They're like, wait a second, like I'm not going to get in trouble for this. Like, okay,
yep.
like,
James,
that's right. Let's go Christmas shopping in Cali, boys. Yeah. Beverly Hills.
Yeah. Have you heard the term anarcho-tyranny?
Anarcho-tyranny, yes.
That's what that is, right? Essentially, it's like the inverse of like anarcho-capitalism or something like that. It's like corrupt people in charge are like letting psychopath criminals run loose and do whatever they want. And then if you protect yourself or you try and do the right thing, you're the criminal. They'll throw you in jail.
I know you guys are big superhero guys like I am. It's classic Gotham City. It's classic Gotham City. It couldn't be represented any better. The politicians.
And if somebody stood up like a Batman figure, they'd be public enemy.
They'd fucking kill him. Yeah.
Right-wing extremist Batman.
Or the Jack Boot of the state would fucking shoot him.
Did you ever see the video of Donald Trump talking to his grandson?
No. What's this
video? He's on his airplane. His grandson. He's like, Grandpa, are you Batman? And Donald Trump.
I did see this. Yeah,
I'm Batman. Never seen this.
Oh, it's.
I think I did see that. That was a while ago, but I did. See that.
It's 2016. Like this is like a long time ago. This is an old video, but it's just so perfect because, like you just said, if anybody rose up to try to take these people down, they'd attack them nonstop. And look what's happening to this man, Donald Trump. It's clearly telling what they're trying to do. And he's just like Batman, where he's a very wealthy man, doesn't need to do what he's doing, could have just basked in the glory of his wealth, golfed all over the world and done whatever the fuck he wanted.
Grab all the pussy he wants.
And everybody would have loved him for eternity. Right. Like he would have literally went to his grave as a beloved human being in American pop culture. But instead he decides to stand up, lose part of his wealth and lose money and go on head on and take on this global elite. Like it couldn't be depicted better in the Batman story. It really is. But I want
to talk a little bit about Trump at some point too. You get the hat on today,
so with these people that are breaking in and the insurance companies leaving and bailing. I think it's a very telling sign, and I think, like I said, the catastrophic line is very telling.
Something's coming.
You have the San Bernardino fault line. You have tsunamis, water. You have what happened with Fukushima and all the radioactive waste that just rolled into the Pacific Ocean. They
had the hurricane too. You guys remember that a couple of weeks ago, where they had the hurricane, came into SoCal, and then they also had a earthquake at the exact same moment.
Yep.
I don't know. I think I said during good.
We've talked about this several times. It's all hands on deck at this point. And a climate crisis is not out of the realm of questions.
Maybe they've just they've drawn the ire and the wrath of God in California.
Yeah.
But that's what they want. They want a climate shutdown. They want a climate crisis.
Because now everything is a climate. Anytime it rains, any little fire, even remember we were talking about that story about in Greece where they were still calling the arson wildfire,
Right, it's not right. Captain made a great point. It's not a wildfire if it's arson. Isn't the term wildfire means a fire that started in the wild, of the wild? It's an arson fire, not a wildfire.
All hands on deck. The establishment can't let Trump run. If they can't indict him, if they can't start World War III, if they can't do COVID, they're going to do fucking a climate crisis. And if they have the power to start their own storms and manipulate weather, they'll just make a real big one that'll take out all of California. An earthquake that fucks. This is a climate crisis. We got to shut down. No election.
That's exactly what they want. They've been dangling that carrot over in front of us for a while now, and I think they've been leading up to this. But I also think what's going on in California with the State Farm specifically is what's going on with businesses, because what I was saying about 50 Cent, how they're gonna put cameras and gate everything, and you're only gonna be able to shop by appointment only. The criminals aren't going away. They're not just gonna disappear and just be like, oh, they stopped us from breaking into stores. I guess my criminal career is over. I guess I'm not robbing us. No
I'll
more.
be a good boy now.
Yeah, I'll be a good guy now. No, they're going to start moving into rich residential areas, especially in a place like California, where everybody, for the most part, can't really get a weapon. It's very difficult to get a gun, and a lot of those people, especially in those wealthy areas, are anti-gun. Whether they are doing that for public appearances and optics, and they actually are armed, or they're actually that stupid and don't have any firearms in their house.
California, I wouldn't put it past them to be that stupid.
Exactly my point. So it's eventually going to spill over into suburbia, and it's going to eventually spill over into residential homes where it's no longer just businesses being robbed. And that could also play into the factor as to why State Farm they don't want to insure, is backing out and doesn't want to insure California but then we would have to say the same thing would be happening for places like New York, Chicago, very soon, because the same things are happening in those places as well.
We got to see what happens.
Yeah, I just don't think. Yeah, I agree. I just don't think they're at the level that like San Francisco is yet. Like they're on their way.
And LA,
yeah.
I went to LA for Sam Tripoli's show. I grew up 20 minutes from Manhattan. Like I grew up in the city. Like I know city life. Of course. I know
Bombs yelling on you at the subway.
I'm not afraid of none of that. Like that doesn't bother me. And New York always was a gross city to me with the way that they pile the trash. Like it's disgusting, gross city. It's filthy.
Dirty fucking island.
Dirty as it gets. It's very dirty. But and growing up, mind you, as a kid, I was the East Coast kid who wanted to be on the West Coast. Like I was the surfer, I was the skater. Like I loved the beach. Like I was always on the Jersey Shore surfing, and like that was the lifestyle I always wanted. That chilled, laid back beach life that I always wanted as a kid. I wanted to go to the University of Santa Barbara for college, and thank God my parents were smart enough to not allow me to do that, because I would have never went to school, because I went to Harvard on the Hill, County College of Morris. I didn't go to class. I drove all the way to school and sat in the parking lot, smoked pot, because I didn't want to go to math and English. And I went to my music classes, but I would have done the same thing if I went across the country. I would have just surfed and smoked pot and banged girls the whole time. I would have never went to class. And I would have wasted
real white supremacist.
All this fucking money. Yeah, for real. I would have wasted all this fucking money. So like I wanted to be in LA my entire life. Like that's where I wanted to be as a kid. And I moved to Vegas because I wanted to be close to California, but I couldn't justify in 2018 when I moved here going from one high tax state to another. And I couldn't justify leaving New Jersey. One of the main reasons was Phil Murphy getting elected was one of the final straws that caused me to leave. Going from another place because of Phil Murphy and his policies to another place that's even worse than Phil Murphy and his policies. So Vegas is where I landed. I went to LA, dude. I will never, ever, ever, ever go back to it. Never.
I heard San Francisco or San Diego is so bad that people don't leave anything in their cars anymore.
San Francisco.
Yeah, they don't leave anything in their cars anymore. And when they park their cars, they roll down the windows and open up the trunk.
Yep.
Because
so you don't get your window broken.
Yeah, because if they break into your car and they find nothing, they'll just break your windows. So they roll the windows down. You could go through their car. You can't steal nothing, and the car gets left. Imagine that's like you're like, this is the right way of life.
I saw a video yesterday of some guy who was like on the Pacific Coast Highway out there, and he was like walking, just taking videos of the ocean, and he kept stopping and running into people, like other tourists who rented cars, and they had their luggage in the back, and all of them, like he'd stop at one rest stop, and people would be like standing around with the cops. They got their fucking, they got their back window smashed in and their luggage taken. Drove off. He goes to the next one, same thing. Like there was a gang of guys or whatever stopping at every rest stop, and when people go out to look at the ocean, look at the beach, and you leave your car with your luggage in there, they fucking break in where you're not paying attention and take your shit. Multiple rest stops along Pacific Coast Highway.
These criminals aren't stupid. Like they're opportunists. They're gonna take advantage of these tourists who have no idea. Oh, I'm going to San Francisco. Right, like I'm going to Paris. Like everybody sees like I can't wait to go to Paris this summer. I'm like, you're a fucking idiot.
Right. It was on fire for half the fucking summer.
You're a moron. You're gonna get raped. Like it's fucking crazy over there. But you look at San Francisco. San Francisco is one of the wildest places in the world because it's a beautiful, beautiful place. And there's a lot of wealth. in San Francisco. Same with LA, but it's more spread out. In LA, it's more of like a
condensed area.
But like San Fran, you have like 5-star Michelin restaurants, and like people are eating outdoors at these 5-star Michelin restaurants, and literally right on the other side of the gate that they have around to block the public from the actual restaurant, there's a fucking homeless dude taking a shit on the street. Like that's real.
You know, good for them. This is what they fucking voted for.
No question. No question.
Suffer, assholes.
I'll never. In San Diego, I might go to like Huntington, Orange County is a little conservative. It's more conservative. And if the state turns out to lower their taxes and things like that, I may end up there. Like that's where I'd want to be. But because
that's years out, dude. That's years
it's
out. If people eventually learn their lesson,
maybe retirement. Hopefully,
maybe
I'm banging on the government, and I'm fucking just
once all
by the time you retire.
Texas. Yeah.
By the time you retire, you're gonna need a bunker.
Yeah, seriously. No,
all right. Let's change some gears here. I know Skaggs, you got some questions, right? These I've been interested in these. No, unless we're done, because I don't want to cut you off. But
no, we got.
We got tons to talk about.
Yeah, tons to talk about.
I got questions. I want to talk about the emergency broadcasting system, everything.
Okay.
So
I kind of want to stick with. We'll definitely get to those, but I kind of want to stick to. I have 2 topics that are just of current events. First, let's talk about Tucker's interview last night of Larry. What's his last name? Larry Sinclair. Right,
Mr. Sinclair.
Yeah, I mean, did you guys both watch it?
Yes.
Listen to it at the gym just before I got on with you boys.
Okay, so
I loved it.
Yeah. James, I know you know all about that for a long time now.
Very long time.
Obviously, we've all heard about it. I never really did a deep dive into it until I heard this before. I just think it's really fucking interesting. Like we were texting about it, that it's like I akin it to like the Overton window shifting on Obama, like the window of allowable opinion. Tucker is someone everyone knows. Now he feels comfortable talking about it. Now a lot of people have heard this story who didn't hear it before.
20+ million.
That's what I love about this. I see a lot of people on social media that have been truthers for a long time, that have been in this community fighting the good fight, and they're like, who the hell cares? Like, we've known about this forever. I'm like,
I hate that fucking attitude.
It drives me nuts. I'm like, yo, you live in a fucking bubble. Like, not everybody knows this. Like,
no, they don't.
Like people, even in the truther community, didn't even know this. Like, it's wild to me that they would even have that opinion. Like, this is huge.
Can I share another opinion that also really fucking bothered me this morning? A lot of people were like, well, this is kind of people who are good. Like on our camp, on our side, we're like, well, this is kind of like really out there for Tucker and like a bit of yellow journalism. And I'm just like, oh, what? You never, Captain, what's our golden rule, right? Like, you never do the work of the regime. Yeah. I don't care. Like, to be honest with you guys, I don't know if I 100% believe Larry's story here, but I'm not going to be like, well, Tucker shouldn't have done this interview because it's like yellow journalism. No, he should have, right? He absolutely should have. He's free to do whatever the fuck he wants right now and talk to whoever he wants. And he wants to put there. This is his story, regardless of if it's true or not. He has every right to put it out there and talk about it. Yeah. He also just last point. He didn't say he believed it or not. He
started by saying, I don't say this is true, but it's funny how just you could say anything you want about Trump. There is still people out there pushing the Russia collusion narrative and the P tapes and shit. But you say something about Obama and Twitter is just, sue him for slander. And this is, we got to censor. It's only a matter of time before people start calling for Tucker to be censored. If they're not already.
It's already happening. So
it's just amazing that you're not allowed to touch anybody in their camp.
No question. So I want to start out by saying, I've over the years, because I've been doing this way longer than we had a show. I've been diving down these rabbit holes for a very long time. I knew about Larry Sinclair. Like, I had copies of the video of him speaking.
You got his YouTube video he made?
Yeah.
I saw that actually yesterday now too, because I went.
And
I didn't get time to watch it. Yeah.
I was always very hard on Tucker Carlson. I called him Tucker Carlson because he never did these kinds of stories, because he always shied away from these kinds of stories, and what news is supposed to be, and what journalism is supposed to be in many cases is presenting the information and allowing the public to form their own opinion on said information. They shouldn't be dictating whether it's true or false or giving their own opinion unless there's irrefutable facts involved. So I really love the fact that he did this interview. I thought it was phenomenal. I thought it was one of the greatest things that could happen in current events. And I don't think it's a coincidence. And this is what I think.
I'm with you on that. I don't really care about the interview. I don't care if Obama sucks dick or not. But the coincidence that this is coming out now is very interesting.
This is what I want to hear. So keep going. Yeah.
Well, it's not just a coincidence that this is coming out now. It's also the coincidence that literally 2 or 3 weeks ago, Barack Obama's ex-girlfriend, just letters of him talking about when he was 21 years old, how he had many fantasies of having sex with men. That was like the soft disclosure for what's to come. And now, like if they jumped right into
limited hangout.
Yeah, like if they jumped right into Larry Sinclair, people would automatically put that wall up like this is fucking nuts.
Fake news.
People are still doing that, but
they're still doing it. They're still doing it. But I'll tell you right now that because of that soft disclosure a couple weeks ago, a lot of people's guards have been let down and they tuned in and they wanted to hear more about it. And what I say about Larry Sinclair is, what does this guy have to gain from doing what he did? And the one thing from the interview that I did not know, that I was not aware of, and I think was probably the most important piece of this interview, to me at least, maybe it's because I didn't know about it, but the ramifications, if are true and the connections are there, are massive. When he started talking about the guy, I think Donald Young.
So I thought you were going to say.
Yeah,
I thought
somebody I never heard of before.
So I picked up on that also, and I was like, this seems to be what Tucker's harping on. There's something important here that I don't understand myself.
So the first body in the Obama camp.
So this is what was very surprising. So one Sinclair had nothing to gain. If anything, he had a lot to lose. And by him telling this Donald Young story furthers the point that he had not just financial losses that he had to lose, but his life was in danger by coming out.
He lives in Mexico now. I don't think it's New Mexico. I think he lives in Mexico.
No, it's in Mexico. He lives in Mexico. He lives in Mexico. Yeah. He lost, and the guy Ben Smith, who wrote a lot of the articles and the shit that people talk about him, like the words that are going around. Oh, he's a 7-year-long criminal record.
I also noticed that Tucker really dislikes him. He took a lot of like insulting shots.
I don't blame him. And the fact that he's been, on the Adam Carolla show, and he talked about how the next step is Donald Trump's getting assassinated. The CIA and intelligence agencies are heavily involved, not just in the media, but Google and Facebook and social media. Like, he dropped some major truth bombs. And he's like, listen, I know people that I'm friends with, but they're just mouthpieces for the establishment. Like, that's all they do. And when you hear those things, like, we've been talking about it forever. We've been saying this forever. Mockingbird never went away, and it's right here in front of our face. And now someone who is credible to the normies, who is credible mainstream, is saying it, and we're like, nah, it's fucking too far. It's nonsense. It's ridiculous. And again, Larry Sinclair, he tried to tell the story in the beginning. He tried to do it quietly. He tried to say, hey, he tried to reach out to the Obama campaign, gave specifics on who he reached out to, the letters that he wrote. Was like, hey, listen, I didn't even mention the sex. I was just saying, like, hey, listen, come out. Like,
but they knew.
You already talked about him doing cocaine. Like, just clarify. Just say, like, I did it as recently as 1999. I smoked crack, and I'll be happy. Didn't mention anything about the gay sex. Didn't really care. But they repeatedly denied him. And from what it sounds like in this story is the Obama campaign sent Donald Young to contact Sinclair. Was like, hey, reach out to this guy, because they were in an intimate relationship, these two, Donald Young and Barack Obama. And this is how he knew he had sex with him, because they were in an intimate relationship with him. And because at first, and And the weird thing is the way he talked about it in this interview. He's like, I identified it as Donald Young. So it seems like it wasn't made known that it was Donald Young. Like the person who was calling didn't let him know who it was. It was just like, hey, I'm part of the Barack Obama campaign. Please don't, we're not going to, continue with this sex and drugs kind of thing. We had nothing to do with it, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, wait a second, I didn't say anything about sex. Like, oh, and then after hearing interviews, he narrowed it down to figure out it was Donald Young on the phone. And then when he said that Donald Young got shot, and Tucker was very open about it, that Donald Young got shot in his apartment and multiple gunshots, and all the police reports, none of the neighbors heard the gunshots, nothing. All of a sudden, his mother is like, wait a second, like him and Barry were really fucking close. And this doesn't seem like the story is being told correctly. Like some fishy's up, some fuckery is up. And
another story that's just shrouded in fuckery.
Like Tucker said, and I think he framed it perfectly. He's like, I'm not going to say that, there's, the Obama campaign or an associate of the Obama campaign is involved in a murder. But there's definitely a motive and a lot at stake becoming the leader of the free world. If there's a guy running around who you had an intimate relationship for a very long time, a very close, intimate relationship with,
a liability. Yeah.
Who's not going to shut up. Yeah. Who's going to open his fucking mouth. You got to silence that guy. And we know through the Clinton hit list, through, the litany of mysterious deaths, the Gary Webbs, we can go on and on and on about people who had information on important people in the government that just mysteriously died, whether it be by suicide, whether it be by murder or weird
car bomb.
Especially these are like obscure people, right? They could kind of get away with shit like that for these people. Like they, like they want to get rid of Don, right? But they can't necessarily just whack him yet. He's too out there. But like all these little obscure people that nobody knows about, it is easy to just make them disappear.
Yes. And the security guards, the Secret Service, we can go on and on and on, or we can tie it right back to old Barry Soetoro, who I'm very excited to hear Malik's interview with Tucker on the 19th as well, whether that's recorded.
Dude, I was wondering if that was going to happen. Yeah.
September 19th. Yeah. And
Malik has been like a thorn in like Obama's side for
for those who don't know, we're talking about Malik Obama, right? Is Obama's half brother.
Yeah,
I think.
So I'll
really dislikes him. Yeah,
I'll get into Malik in a second because there's Malik's a very interesting character in this story. But I want to tie what you said about these obscure characters that they're able to silence and off in mysterious ways. And it's not a coincidence to me that Barack Obama has sealed every single one of his records as classified. Like it's all sealed. You cannot, there's no access to it. His college records, his everything. And there was a big stink, most specifically made by Donald J. Trump about his birth certificate.
James, can I ask you, so I know the whole Operation Honeypot, isn't that like Obama's mother or something like that, or grandmother?
So that's his grandparents.
They like his grandparents are embedded in the CIA.
They're cousins. So we'll get into that.
We'll get into that.
Ties into Malik. I do want to get in. There's a great documentary that Dinesh D'Souza did called Obama's America. It's a really, really good documentary, and it's all based from Barack Obama's own words from his book, Stories of My Father. That's where the documentary is completely based off. He goes to Kenya, he talks to Malik, he talks to his grandmother. It's amazing. We'll get into that. But Donald Trump made this big stink about his birth certificate. So originally that was all sealed. And because Donald Trump made a very big public stink about it, they wanted to make a point to shut him up, and they produced this birth certificate. And it's funny because Malik continually used to tweet out a copy of a birth certificate from Kenya that has Barack Obama's name on it. Whether that's real or not, who knows? But what I will say is the person who validated Barack Obama's American birth certificate from Hawaii, her name is Loretta Fuddy. That is her name. And there is a video of Loretta Fuddy's death shortly after she verified his birth certificate. I think I have it in my phone, and I can
covering up that loose end.
I could send it to you. I think I have it saved in my phone. But Loretta Fuddy was on an airplane, and that airplane happened to crash. But the airplane didn't like take a straight down dive into the water, into the ocean. Nobody died on the airplane crash. The only person that died was Loretta Fuddy. Just keep that in mind. Okay. The only person that died on this airplane crash was Loretta Fuddy. Everybody else survived. Someone on the airplane with her happened to have a GoPro on them, filmed the entire thing. It was like the engine ran out of fuel or something, and they just like coast glided down and did a soft landing in the ocean.
And she just exploded.
There's video footage of Loretta Fuddy with her life vest on, and she's just floating in the water with her family. And all of a sudden, you see a little head pop up with a little yellow tank, and all of a sudden, Loretta Fuddy goes underwater, and she drowned. Loretta Fuddy, she drowned. But it looks, you could literally see the frogman. You could see in the video, you could see the frogman float up and grab her. It's very, I have it in my phone. But it'd be very difficult to find because I saved it in my phone for that specific reason. Because I knew,
this is why the FBI is looking for you.
That was going to happen. But I'll send it to you. It's on my phone somewhere.
We'll do it after the show. We'll post it.
It's in my
on Instagram.
It's not far either because I saved it in my favorites so I could find it. But now my favorites, I do this a lot and I don't organize anything. So now my favorites is like 500 fucking videos and photos of shit that.
I try to keep my favorites very limited.
Oh, I did the same thing, but over the course of years, it's gotten very large. And I haven't cleaned it out and I'm too lazy to do so because it's a lot of work. It's like it's now turned into like hours of work of going through and cleaning
it's a job to sort out the phone itself.
I think 42,000 photos and screenshots in my phone.
I try to keep up with that for like all the shit that I'm doing for the podcast, like screenshotting, taking things. Like I got to make sure I delete that shit that's like not original content that I made because it's just filling up my phone.
I bought the 5 terabyte phone for a reason.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm just gonna
even then, like it's lost. Like you're just lost in a sea of files.
Paying $300 to the iCloud. Yeah.
So, but my point is to tie that together. This is not the first person who is very closely tied to Obama who could be a very big loose end. Because whether they had her verify a fake birth certificate or not, she could be a liability, especially if it is fake, and especially if she did do a favor for them. And it's just a coincidence that she's the only person to have died on this fucking plane crash. And it's just very odd. And Donald Young seems like he's another person that could be a loose end that would be able to blow the whistle and verify that Barack Obama.
Right. If any of these people.
Yeah, Barack Obama's not who he says he is. And to go into Malik, because I do believe Larry Sinclair. Like I said, I don't think he has anything to gain. I think he lost a lot because of this. His story is not far-fetched like he did anything wild, like the way he details
cocaine and blowjobs. It happens every day.
It's a very, very believable, narrative and how things.
The only thing that I'm sorry to interrupt. The only thing that I found odd from the entire story, it's a very believable story, but like Larry, just called the right limo company and was like, "Listen, I'm looking to party. I'm looking to have fun." And this limo driver was like, "I got you, baby." And just pulled up and was like, "Yo, Obama, come on, bro. We're going to party tonight." And Obama got in the car with, that's like what a fucking coincidence.
I thought about that.
It's a bit sketchy.
No, I thought about
that's the inner workings of everything to line up for that to happen is the strangest part of this.
This is also, though, I think the context applies. This isn't President Obama. This is like 90s.
No, this is 1999. Right? Yeah. Was he even in the Senate yet? I think he was just a city official.
Yeah, I think he was a city official. I don't think he was in the state senator yet. But, and this is why I think it lines up. Like at that point, if he was going to, the 2004 DNC convention where he spoke and really came onto the scene, even he really wasn't that popular.
Wait, he didn't run in 2004. The first time he won was in 2008,
2004 is like when he came out onto the scene and everybody found out who Senator Obama was. Was 2004. So we'll get into his father and in Malik and his political aspirations. I think he's a full-blown Manchurian candidate and was
me too. I've always thought that
groomed to be who he is from day one, since he was
by the CIA, everything.
We'll get into that, but I think with this specific scenario, how this played out, I think he was a up and coming politician in Chicago. I'm sure he uses a lot of limos, and was driven around, and I bet it was that was a limo service that he used on a regular basis. And I bet, I know a lot of guys. I know a lot of guys that have drivers, and they get picked up all of the time, and they work with a company. But when they work with the company, or even pilots, they're like, I only want this person. Like, I only want to work with this person. Don't send another driver. Don't send anybody else. I only want this person. So the way that he described the driver, I'd be willing to bet, and his name, I think it was Jermaine, I'd be willing to bet he's a black guy. And I'm sure Obama used him on a regular basis. That's right. Probably how that connection was made. It's pretty simple to come to that conclusion. And if you use them on a regular basis, and the way that Barry has come off, not just from Larry, but other stories about his party life and being a young guy, he was loose. Like, he was doing a lot of fun stuff. Like, he was partying, hanging out. And seems like especially the connection that him and the driver had going back to the hotel, like that was another telling thing. Like, hey, I wanted to drop off Barry first, because not only was it closer to where he lived, but I'm still a little nervous and whether I'm going to get robbed or shaken down for something, because I don't really know this guy. Which, if you're meeting a random person that you have no idea who it is, like, those are all very logical, realistic.
Yeah, you might not want to like lead them back to your home.
You ever buy something off of Craigslist? Like, you ever like?
Oh yeah, you meet in a neutral location.
All those sketchy drug deals. Yeah,
exactly. Oh, absolutely. You're literally sitting there. You're like, oh man, am I gonna get fucking robbed? Am I gonna get
my favorite was always wait in this parking lot. I'm gonna come drive by and we'll make the exchange. And then a white Range Rover pulls up. You give them the money, you get the bag. Now they peel out, and you're the one stuck in the parking lot with the bag. You have no idea who was in the car, nothing. Always a fantastic time.
So when he describes those feelings, those are very relatable feelings for many people. Maybe not in gay sex, but like in scenarios where you're meeting a random person for a purchase or whatever drug buying
transaction,
any type of transaction like that. It's a very reasonable feeling. And when he talks about it, like you feel the sincerity when he talks about it. And the fact that he was smart enough to say, hey, I want to drop off him first, like that just goes to show the level of thinking that he had in that scenario. And it makes
you're making this up. That might not have really been a point you were going to harp on.
Exactly. Bingo. It's not something that you really want to think about. Like, you're literally just trying to paint the picture that Barry's gay and coke. Then you wouldn't have to go into those kinds.
He's worried about getting robbed and raped. Yeah,
exactly. And he didn't and didn't know who he was. And it would make sense in 1999. Like, it would make sense. And I loved how Tucker asked him, did he go by Barry?
Yeah, I thought that was funny too. Yeah.
I thought that was great.
Or Barack,
yeah. But I really think Larry is telling the truth, and I don't think he's trying to gain anything from it. And in reality, there really is nothing to gain from it. There's no financial gain.
Oh yeah. What president hasn't done a little bit of coke or gotten a blowjob? Like,
sure. So I mean,
this isn't a wild story.
This comes into why I think that this is important, regardless if it's true or not, and regardless of what it's even about. Like, I don't really give a fuck about Obama doing blow or having sex with guys. I really don't care about that. Just
good job. I wouldn't care.
Right. Just the way I don't care about like Hunter Biden doing crack or whatever, or owning a gun. But I think this shifts the window of allowable opinion on Obama, who we all know is a horrific fucking president, evil dude, launched wars of aggression, drone striked American citizens, killed people, the whole nine. Everything bad about him we know
Worst president
ordered
ever.
$60,000 worth of hot dogs and pizza to the White House from Chicago at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Things like that.
$60,000. Yeah.
What is it that people always say? What is it like the defenders of him and the NPCs always say? Oh, the biggest scandal he ever had while he was president was the tan suit. Right? That's what they say. I'm sure everybody's fucking heard that.
Scandal-free presidency.
Scandal-free presidency or
amazing.
the tan suit. When
Fast
Republicans,
and Furious.
that's what I'm saying, though. Like, that's the talking point.
Nothing.
The tan suit was the biggest scandal because he wore one time.
Not Fast and Furious, not bombing citizens, not drone striking people.
Selling uranium to Iraq or
Well, those are all things we know. Those are all things we know that are bad about him. What I'm saying is that this will crack the mold on some people and be like, hey, this guy is way more fucking suspicious and sketchy than he was made out to be.
The only problem I have with all this, and you are correct, this could awaken a few more people. Every tidbit of information we get against these established figures does awaken one more person, bare minimum. The only thing I have a problem with, and Tim Pool kind of said this, was like if this story really was to blow up and Obama's back was really up against the wall, he'd just get on TV and be like, I'm gay, I'm bisexual. And all the liberals in the LGBT community would rise up and we have the king. We have the gay king.
I'm the king of the gays.
Yeah, like, oh, it would be cheered and championed as the greatest thing to ever happen.
So I kind of agree with you. And
I don't think there'd be any accountability that could come his way because of this story.
There's no accountability though that could come from it though. Like what? Yeah. What accountability for just having sex with someone?
Hear me out, because all these little disclosures about Barack Obama, and I think Skaggs, you're 100% spot on that this shifts the window, and it's happening a lot faster than it was before, where that window is shifting. Like I'll ask you this: do you agree that a lot of people are waking up every single day?
Yeah,
it goes by, like every single day that goes by, there's something that happens that people are like, holy shit, like the conspiracy theorists are right. And once that light switch goes off, there's no going back. And I think before even these two gay scandals came out about Barack Obama, the armor was starting to crack. You see him do speaking engagements, and liberals were calling out his involvement in the 2014 coup in Ukraine, like why we're going to war. Like it seemed like the true liberal was speaking up, like, hey, we don't want war, and it's because of you that we're here. And they're starting to realize this. So like you start to see the armor in Obama, which you once thought was impenetrable. Thank you.
We had on Jose Vega, right? His whole crew does shit like that. Like they'll go, like they're liberals, right? And they'll go and like yell at one of these people for like some hypocritical
but it's not just Jose Vega, it's randoms as well. Like random people are showing up, and it's happening to AOC, it's happening to a lot of these liberals. It's really cool to see, but I think the establishment as a whole is backed up against a corner.
Yes,
I think the powers that be, the puppet masters, we'll call them, are exposed.
World monarchs.
Yeah, are exposed in a way that they've never been exposed before.
100%.
And they're running out of options. They're running out of tools. Like they're throwing everything against the wall and hoping it sticks.
So
and it's backfiring bigly. Go ahead.
Let's hold on to that idea. Let's talk about Obama's family, because everything you're saying right now can lead perfectly into all my Q shit.
Well, no, this ties right. I'm taking.
Okay, go for it. Go
right back to Obama. Right back.
I trust you.
That's where I'm going with this. So, they cannot allow Donald Trump to win. They will, as we can see, do stop at nothing. And like you said before, climate change lockdowns, like shutting down
everything they can at the wall.
I think cyber attacks. Cyber attacks in our future.
Nukes, anything.
I think all of these things are at play. But I also think that they're going to use their best options. Like I truly think that Joey Bag of Donuts is not going to, if there is an election, if there is a campaign, I don't think it's going to be Joey Bag of Donuts. I think they're going to gracefully bow him out, whether it's him passing away while in office so they can do this huge distraction, memorial, president dies in office, parade, this, that, and the other, like do the whole shabam that comes along with a president dying in office, and they can clog the media stations with that, or he gets an illness and has to step down. and Kamala will finish out the remainder of the term, basically handcuffed to do whatever that she's told, just like Joey Bag of Donuts. And she clearly can't run. Nobody likes her. She polled at less than 1%. So that we know that they're not going to send her out there. They got to send somebody else out. And I think it's going to be a combination of Gavin Newsom and Big Mike.
Mm-hmm.
I think Big Mike's going to be
But doesn't she not want to run?
Okay, so I don't know about that, but I 100% agree with you that Gavin Newsom is in play. He's running a campaign. It's not like an overt, outright campaign, but he's running a shadow campaign. He's been visiting other states. Yeah. He's the governor of California. If you're not running for president, what the fuck are you doing? Like visiting?
Just like DeSantis. Same play as DeSantis.
Yes. Same play as DeSantis earlier before he officially announced.
Before he officially announced, 100%. It's the same. I'm doing a book tour. I'm going all the other places. Bullshit. No, but I think Big Mike is the ticket. The reason why I say Big Mike over Gavin Newsom, and I think Gavin Newsom will be the VP, is because these people are stupid in a sense, but they're not like there's certain things that they're not stupid at, and they know that in California, Gavin Newsom is not liked. He's not liked in his own state. Like that recall had to be heavily rigged. The fact that he got more votes in his recall election than he did in his initial government is very, very telling when he got 1.6 million recall votes.
How bad things were too.
Yeah.
Just the context for
that. And he right now has this aura across the country of this liberal icon, outside of California. But once he goes on the national stage, just like in Florida with Ron DeSantis, California is going to start voicing what's really going on in California. And I think it's going to really be hard if the biggest state that they need to win, California, is against their candidate. It's going to be very difficult. And Big Mike
is the only name they could ride this on.
Like you said earlier, they have this impenetrable, flawless, or not this
it's the name.
No scandal. No scandal. The only president without scandals. The tail suit was the worst thing.
So they're gonna run Big Mike out on there. Oh, we're gonna be scandal free. This, that, and the other. They're doing all these polls about how she's the most admired woman in the world. This, that, and the other. They're propping her up outside of the political world to be this larger
icon
being. Yeah, this icon when she did absolutely nothing.
Just showed off them guns.
Yeah, the linebacker back, that Ray Lewis back. I need to get her back workout. I need to talk to her. Get that back workout. But to bring it full circle and to add Chris's point, Donald Trump is very good at bringing things to spotlight that were previously not known. Like, for example, I don't think he was off by talking about Barack Obama's birth certificate, and I don't think that was an accident, or it wasn't something that he's going to bring up in the future. I think that's going to come under the table if Big Mike runs, and I think that there's going to be a lot of information, just like Meatball Rob, whether it be from Donald Trump's administration or from the memers and the anons that are now blasting this stuff all over Twitter, which is still censored, but not censored in the way it was. I
think it's turning back.
It looks like that, but at the same time, there's still a lot of information that's spreading like wildfire, and memes that are spreading like wildfire on that platform, more so than any other platform. You're not seeing that kind of traction on the Instagrams, on the Facebooks, on any of those other platforms that you are on Twitter. As censors, I agree. Twitter still sucks, but it's still the public forum. It's still where the normies are. And information is spreading, and we're able to get it across a lot quicker. Like a lot of this information, like the Larry Sinclair stuff, like all of this stuff that's going on right now, if Twitter wasn't what it is right now, nobody would know.
Tucker wouldn't have had a platform to do this.
Not just that, but we wouldn't be able to share it everywhere. We'd only be able to share it to our echo chamber like it was in 2020. It was this is why I don't post as much, because it was we're all posting the same shit and nobody sees it.
No one new is seeing it.
It's just like truth. Yeah. So
no, I get that 100%. That's why we work together a lot with Garrett too. Garrett's page is growing, and I like that idea of we could mix, different audiences to show people different stuff. So
100%.
Garrett's audience might be a little bit more of the conspiracy theory leaning area, but that's good. So we'll show them something else or whatever. Good. Sorry.
So I think he's very good at putting these things in the spotlight, and I think that the Big Mike situation, especially after Larry Sinclair, after the letters situation, is getting closer and closer. And I know Malik has been very outspoken about Big Mike. He's spoken very publicly that Big Mike is a dude. I wouldn't be surprised if that's talked about on the interview. Go ahead.
For those who don't know who James is talking about, he's talking about Michelle Obama, by the way. Just in case any of our listeners have never heard of that before, I don't know.
I wonder if the trouble in Obama's marriage in '99 was the fact that Mike was transitioning.
We also forgot to even mention that, right? That did come out recently, that there was some, trouble in paradise.
And Larry Sinclair said that in the 90s.
Yeah. I wonder if that's when she transitioned and he was happy banging a dude, and now it's going to be a woman, and that was the trouble. That's why Obama was out there cheating.
Maybe.
Listen, that's a very valid conversation to have. That's a very valid. It's weird. It's weird that Michelle Obama's mother bequeathed her fortune to Michael LaVaughn Robinson. Like that's a little odd, if you ask me. It's a little fucking odd. And then you add on all the other things that we could talk about, all the other anomalies. What's her name? I always forget her name.
Joan Rivers.
Yeah, thank you, Joan Rivers. Joan Rivers, what she said, and then dying. Thank you. I know we're fucking mind melting. I love it.
Hive mind.
And then she died 2 months later in a routine plastic surgery that she's clearly had 1,000 fucking times.
A lot of that going on.
A lot of that fucking going on, right? So there's so many things to point to, but so I think whether it's the Obama administration or the Obama team that's doing the soft disclosure because they know what's coming to get everybody ready, because I think if Big Mike runs, that's going to, like, Big Mike is going to be a centerpiece talking point, not just
of course, yeah, I know what you mean.
The meme.
What better way to push out RFK?
Without a doubt. Well, that's another thing. They need to deal with RFK somehow. And I think RFK is a huge wrench in what they're doing. Yeah. And I think Big Mike is really the only one that's going to be able to do that, because you have a lot of these classic liberals that are like, I like RFK.
Right. Like, how do you replace Biden without, like people who are not aware of what's going on? Be like, well,
and how do you
there's RFK, he's running. What do you mean replace Biden with someone else? Why is anyone else even, why are they even going to try and start someone else so late? Right. Exactly. It has to be sold. It has to be sold some way. Yeah.
Yes. So if she gets, if that thing gets in the race, it's going to, I don't think that they have any choice but to embrace that she's a tranny. I really don't, because it's going to be a major.
So you think they'll finally own up to something?
If that,
because I always talk about like just owning up.
So
if that happens, real quick, we need to have a fucking party podcast where you could just celebrate how right you were all these years. Like,
I already know.
I'm just saying, like, if that happens, because now everyone knows. So we need to like pop champagne. I need to see you just go hard, like have a great time with it.
We'll do it.
And I'm just it's more a toe-to-soes. Like it's for me, it's more a toe-to-soes. Like this is that like the Big Mike thing is just like a fun conspiracy. Like it really, it really has no meaning in anything, any outcome. It's just a fun conspiracy,
and it's funny. Yeah,
and it's funny, absolutely, but it's real. It's not like it's not like it's funny because it's like I'm cracking jokes. It's funny because the truth in the truth in comedy there. But I think that they'll have no choice but to embrace it. And like Chris said, like the left will embrace it with them because of all of this woke ideology.
Right.
They'll he's the first gay president, transgender, rather than
they'll have the king and queen of the LGBT community.
Rather than trying to
king.
I guess so.
Spin it and make it sound like it's crazy and not real. Because that, I think, will backfire like everything else is backfired at this point, especially when there's a lot of truth in what's being said and there's a lot of evidence in what's being said. And the court of public opinion is drastically shifting towards away from the establishment regime, whether it's Republican or Democrat. They're starting to wake up to the fuckery. A lot of people are starting to question the things that are going on. And I think a big litmus test will be if they try lockdowns again, and if it works. I think it's going to be a very big litmus test for the public.